Coming to you live from the Minnesota land of fraud. This is unbelievable. So the last couple days, it was Nick Shirley who did a video, kind of an expose on YouTube on going to these daycare centers, and showing that these daycare centers actually had no children in them, and they were collecting millions of dollars. So he did a bunch of those, and then there's people that saying that's not true, but there's something that stinks there. There is fraud going on there at massive scales. We don't know how bad yet. So some speculations are we're seeing about $19 billion coming into the state, and they figure about half of that is fraud. So that's like $9 billion is kind of one of the estimates out there. I mean, that's just unbelievable. And it's not just Minnesota; it's all over. It's Ohio, it's California, it's Seattle, it's out in uh, who just got in trouble out there, Maine. So they're finding this everywhere. And then Nick Shirley just posted, and this is kind of interesting. He just says, "Here we go." Says that the mainstream media is going to go insane when he releases part two of the Somali fraud. So, what is part two of the Somali fraud? I'm going to speculate that he's going to deviate from the child care, the daycare, and he's going to go into housing. And we're going to see how much housing is consumed with fraud. I think a lot of the doomers are saying that's all Wall Street consuming these houses. I have no idea to the level this is, but I'm seeing a lot of stuff in my marketplace where there's these assisted living houses coming in, and some of it's legit, absolutely. You know, residential assisted living is a good business model, but there's federal funds and there's state funds into these, and they're called like caddy waivers, and I forget how you call the caddy. It's community. I got to look it up here. There it is. Community Access for Disability Inclusion, CADI, caddy waivers. So just to back up a little bit, I've got a couple houses on the market, and I'm getting calls from people that want to buy it or rent it, and they want to put in what they call caddy housing, and they want to tie up the property while they go get this license and everything else. And I started looking into it, and there's a lot of money in this. I mean, they're getting like $1,200 per resident or something crazy, and they stack them in there. So they want like these 4 or 5 bedrooms. And I mean, I started looking at the cash on cash returns, and the cap rates on these are just insane. So I'm wondering how much of this is going to be fraud. So when Nick is going to do his Nick Shirley is going to do his next expose, my guess, my money is on that he's going to go to a lot of these residential houses and learn that a lot of these group homes don't really exist. They're just scamming money. That's my prediction. But you know, I don't know. I don't know Nick Shirley. I think he's put the spotlight on where it needs to be focused on. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse in Minnesota, the governor goes and does something crazy. So the governor just proposed and got approved. So this is going in, and let me see if I can find this note. Yes, it is. Minnesota families. Let's see. Nearly 12,000 apply for this new Minnesota paid leave program in the first day. So Minnesota paid leave program is a new law in Minnesota where an employee can ask for paid leave. So if they have someone sick in the family, they can get this paid leave, and it's capped at a certain amount per week or per month, and they can take up to 5 months off per year. No more than 5 months per year though, because that would be abuse. So there's a new program. You can just apply for it, paid leave. And my understanding is it does not have to be a family member that's sick. It does not have to be a sickness. It could be your mailman isn't feeling well, so you need to take this leave. And the employers are going to have to cover your position. And it's going to be a shit show. I don't know how businesses are going to survive this. I mean, if you lose, just say 10% of your employees to this paid leave, you're going to have to cover that plus pay someone else to fill in. If I were an employer, I would basically whack all my employees and put them on subcontractors. Or if I were, I mean, Minnesota's got some big businesses. I mean, we're talking Target Corporation, Honeywell, 3M, Minnesota Mining Manufacturing is 3M. General Mills, right? I mean, those Pillsbury's got wrapped up into that. Multimeal, a lot of these food companies, Cargill, that's privately owned company, but would be a Fortune 500 company if it were publicly traded. And just massive amount of employers based on this. What's that one that benefited so much off of the Obamacare, where the CEO was executed in Washington D.C. by that guy? I can't think of it. That insurance company's headquartered here. Health Partners? No, not Health Partners, but you know who I'm talking about. They benefited from the new Health Care Act, Obamacare, and they're just making all this money. So we have a ton of companies based here with large employee bases. I don't see they're going to have to relocate a lot of their employees outside of the state. They're going to have to base them elsewhere, or they're going to go bankrupt. I mean, you can't just put 5 months paid vacation or paid leave, because but you don't really have to give a reason why you want the leave. I mean, it's just going to be a disaster. And yeah, 12,000 applied for that the first day, and that day's not even over. So that's the next major wave of fraud. But we get back into the caddy housing, and I think Nick Shirley's going to be doing this. I don't know when he's going to launch it. I suspect this weekend, so I'll find out if I'm right. But I suspect he's going to go to these houses that are supposed to have all these, uh, people, residents in there. Pack 5 to 10 people into these houses, and they're going to find out these houses are kind of empty, or they're just, someone's living there and they're collecting all this money. I bet you there's just massive fraud in that program because there's no way to verify this stuff. Now, it's unfortunate because the program has some good basics to it, right? We have people that need that housing, and that's a great way to provide housing. Get some public assistance, do shared costs on putting them into a group home kind of setup in a residential setting, and it's a great efficiency, but unfortunately it's abused, and it's not going to be able to function because too many people are ripping it off. It was a business model that seemed to make a lot of sense, but I guarantee that's where the next fraud is coming out of. If it's not there, it should be in the public schools, because we went from like the top 5 in the nation and rankings on schools down to like 28 in this country, and our costs per student went up. So there's something being siphoned off there. There's something that's really amiss in our public schools in Minnesota now. We have really gone downhill since 2020, since probably 2016, I think is when walls went in. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more coming to the pipe on this one. So I came across this as I'm trying to come up with my market predictions, and I thought, well, everyone's making their predictions on this national housing market, which doesn't exist. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to focus in on the Twin Cities, kind of make it, that Twin Cities is probably similar to most of the North Metro or northern tier of the country. We didn't get that big boom in the South that COVID brought when everyone relocated down there, to work from home. But we didn't go down, we didn't overbuild. So our market has held pretty strong here. So I was trying to make some predictions, and then all this news started busting, and I'm like, well, what does this do for employment? With this new paid leave act, if employers start shutting down, housing's based on jobs. And if they start relocating these jobs out of state because of this stupid law, that's going to crash the housing market here. We're going to see less people demand for housing, less we get more fraud coming in, and government pays the housing. And then crazy things going on in New York. That new governor is or mayor is talking about if you don't like your landlord, report them, and then they'll take over the property if they're not maintaining it right. I mean, these are scary times. But I'll share some stuff in the Twin Cities here, and then I got to run. I've got to hit the road here. I'm gonna be heading up north, but I'll share this. Okay, we're just going to quick run over the Twin Cities market. This is a Twin Cities metro region, and we got about 3.5 million people here. I think 3.6, 3.7, somewhere in there. This is homes for sale. This is our inventory, and it goes back to January of 2005. So this is the housing crash. This is the number inventory. So in like 2008, March of 2008, we had 34,000 homes for sale, right? And our population wasn't as big then. So, and then we dropped down to 2022. We hit around 6,800, 6,815 homes for sale. And then our inventory has slowly climbed. And, you can almost say, oh my gosh, inventory's doubled since 2022. We're at 9,410 houses for sale, you know. But then if you look at the month supply is going to tell you the speed of the sale, right? Now, at the middle of the housing crash, we were at a 10-month supply. Um, and then this is flattened, right? There's months where it was all over the place. They flattened the curve here. There's some weeks, but anyhow, we're up to 2.5 month supply. Now, they consider a balanced market to be right around that 5 to 6 month supply of homes. That's where you got equal number of buyers to sellers. And the reason they kind of pick that is, it's going to take you 3 to 6 months to build a new house. So you can replace that inventory in that time. 2.5 months, you can't replace that inventory as fast as it's selling. Now, it doesn't mean that all the houses are going to sell in 2.5 months. More houses are going to come to the market in the spring. The speed of home sales are going to go up as well. So this is going to fluctuate a little bit, but it is just kind of a gauge on how quickly the market's moving. And we do use that to determine if we should add housing to the market. So the days on market, we're still averaging 23 days on the market. That's the median. The average is 49 days. But historically, that's still extremely low. When you're looking at 150 days, average days on the market. Closed sales, back here in 2021, we were at 68,000 closed sales. Now we're sitting down around 46,000. But if you look at that, it's still a lot better than it was during the crash. I remember going down here, and this was tough times. And then this is the first time home buyer tax credit. They announced that. So a bunch of first time home buyers hit the market. They had their tax credit to cover their down payment, and it quick shot that market up. And as soon as that expired, that market crashed. But I remember this was a nice bump. I really needed that to get through those days. So we're sitting about that level now, kind of right in that where they offered that first time home buyer tax credit. I speculate, and this is going to depend on, there's so much going on in the world. How do you make predictions here? I think the interest rates are going to continue to go down. I think we're going to be hovering somewhere around 5.75, like 6.25. We'll probably average pretty close to that 5.9 is kind of my speculation throughout the year. And depending on what happens in Minnesota, assuming we don't have any major employers leave the state because of these asinine laws, and the job growth continues at that steady pace that we were seeing, that the market's going to remain healthy here in the Twin Cities. But a lot can go wrong right now. There's a lot of fraud going on in this state. There's center of attention. The Fed has shut off money because of the fraud until they provide oversight. Now, my understanding is these daycare centers can prove that they have these people there. They can get the money, so it won't stop people, real daycares that are legitimately providing the services. But there's a procedure on how they prove that the children are enrolled there, which is fair. They're providing oversight. So there's a lot going on. I don't know how to make predictions. I'll think about that on the drive up, and I got about 4-hour drive ahead of me, and then maybe I'll jump on tomorrow and kind of go into more detail. I wanted to jump on earlier today. I had to get this done, so here I am. Hope you enjoy, and I think we're going to see Nick Shirley's next wave come out, and maybe it'll be tomorrow, and we can talk about if I was right or not on that prediction. So we'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.